Hello there, my beautiful, lovely internet friends. Welcome back to Trauma Talk. Today I wanted to talk about a very heavy topic relating to purity culture. Recently, as I'm sure you know, there was a horrific shooting in Atlanta where a number of women, Asian women, were murdered. And one of the reasons given for this, amongst many other things, was that this man was trying to eliminate temptation, sexual temptation in particular. And I wanted to take a moment to comment on that very particular aspect of this situation because it is something that I heard countless times growing up. And it is at the top of the list of many reasons why I speak out against purity culture and the horrible things that so many of us were taught growing up, because not only do they have traumatic and relationship and life-altering consequences on young minds, but they also have life-ending consequences for others. If you don't know what purity culture is, it's basically the way that a lot of young people in evangelical Christianity and other places were taught to think about themselves, their self-worth, and sex. Very, very basic guidelines of purity culture were don't have sex till you're married, don't think about sex till you're married, don't masturbate, God's watching, that's sinful. Your entire worth as a human being, especially if you're a woman, is tied to virginity. Women, you are causing men to stumble by what you're dressing, wearing, acting, thinking. That's your fault. Thus, it is your fault if they do anything about it, which you can take to a lot of very dark places. Men are lustful creatures that cannot be stopped and have very little self-control, and you should eliminate all temptation from your life if anything is causing you to think sinful thoughts or have sinful actions. And keep in mind that sinful thoughts or sinful actions, what's encompassed in that is literally anything sexual. It's like having a sexual urge as a teenager, which is a perfectly normal thing. As you're growing up in this culture, in this teaching, you're being taught that sex is wrong and shameful, that you are wrong and shameful, that you should not be a sexual being until you're married, at which point there's going to be a light switch that switches on. And even though you have been taught to feel utter shame about your body and sexuality your entire life, all of a sudden it's all going to be okay and you're going to have a beautiful relationship with your husband because heterosexual is the only way you are allowed to be within this mindset. But coming back to what we were actually talking about here today, one of the reasons that the man who did this horrific thing gave for murdering people was to eliminate temptation. And I'm gonna say this and hope that once I say it, you stick around for the explanation. But with the culture that I was raised in, I can understand how he came to the conclusion that he came to. What I mean by that is in no way is it remotely okay in any world. He is 1,000% responsible for his actions. No one else is responsible for those. That was his decision. End of story. When you are raised and taught in varying levels of dogma that sex is dirty and wrong, and women cause you to stumble by what they dress or what they do, and it is on you to eliminate all temptation from your life, otherwise, God won't love you anymore. God will think of you as a disgusting, dirty beast. Like, how could you do that? How could you be so sinful? You're gross, you're dirty, you're broken, you're stained, you're damaged goods, right? Like that's a lot of the things that I was taught in the church. Now, at no point is it ever like explicitly said, like, you should harm other people if you feel like they're causing you to stumble, if you feel like they're a temptation to you. But I can follow the breadcrumbs to understand how someone could twist that to a place where if they were feeling sexual thoughts or urges towards someone, eliminate that person so that that temptation is gone. Again, I just want to make it crystal clear that I'm in no way saying like I understand why he did what he did. Excuse me, but fuck no. No. In no world is that ever okay. I am simply saying that this culture that still exists, that some churches still preach, that some schools still allowed to be taught, that you are equivalent to a chewed up piece of gum or a sucked on lollipop that no one wants anymore, or crushed up rose petals. If you've ever been intimate with anybody before marriage, or if you've ever thought anything about anyone before marriage, if you've ever had a sexual urge in your life, this is still a thing that's taught in some churches, in some school systems, by some parents. And what this man did is inexcusable. But the teachings that he spouted, eliminating temptation, that is something that is still being taught and needs to stop. Because of course, in the vast majority of situations, it is not going to lead to people committing crimes against other people, but at a minimum, It causes significant personal damage. I am a living example of that. Purity culture affected so deeply how I view myself, my self-worth, my body, my lack of connection to my body, my marriage, literally everything. And I'm still dismantling that and piecing through it and trying to figure it out. When I heard that reason cited, eliminating temptation, I want to say it made my heart break even more for the situation, but honestly, it filled me with more rage because I've heard that shit before. Because that is actively taught. And when that very toxic idea is nurtured in the mind of someone who is unstable or has bad intentions or whatever you want to call this person who did this horrible thing, atrocious and appalling things can occur. We have to stop being okay with kids being taught that sex is shameful and wrong. When you are deeming an entire part of being a human as something that is bad, it messes people up. And again, the man who murdered those people is 1000% responsible for his actions, end of story. With that being said, I do think it is important to also examine contributing factors, like the fact that he cited something that I was told over and over and over again in my own life. That line of thinking from purity culture had an impact in this situation and in what happened, and that will never be okay. This is a topic I will continue speaking on. I will continue trying to bring light to and education and understanding, and frankly, that I will still personally try to keep healing from, because I'm not there yet. I still have a lot of really twisted ideas about intimacy and sexuality and bodies as an almost 30-year-old woman. Like, this stuff still really affects me, and I'm going to continue speaking about it and being a part of the solution. Thank you for listening to this video today. My heart is so heavy and breaks for what happened in Atlanta. Though I realize how empty this sounds, my heart goes out to everybody who is involved in that situation. If you lost someone, if you know someone who lost someone, if you were in the area, it's a terrifying situation that ended so horrifically, and my heart is with you. Thank you guys for listening today. I really appreciate it. This was a heavy video. My previous video was also heavy, so I guess we're just on a heavy week. But thank you. Thank you to my patrons for supporting these videos. Truly appreciate each and every one of you. I love you guys. I'm thinking about you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.